Okay, let's talk here between you and me. You're not perfect, and that's absolutely fine. We live in a society where we are sold too many products and services to be physically perfect, socially accepted, and we are emotionally numbed in a constant struggle to achieve that perfection, which, by the way, doesn't exist and is not necessary either. Now, in the corporate world, companies look a lot at what is missing in employees. Recruitment processes are mined with questions to identify the candidate flaws and weaknesses. And everyone loves to talk about the famous improvement points, whatever that means. Now, in this channel, we talk about mental programming for success. So stay until the end of this podcast episode or video if you are on YouTube, because today we will focus on weaknesses, how to identify them, and especially how to accept them. My name is Jessica Rojas Liscano. I'm an international career coach, and every day I accompany people who are preparing for a job change, or they want to start a business, or simply they just want to evolve professionally. So knowing their weaknesses is crucial for good, meaningful career planning. Now, if you feel identified, it is important to know in which aspects you are not the best, and you will see that that is not a problem. Now, first of all, you were born and raised with absolutely everything you need to be successful, to be happy, and to fulfill your life mission in this time right here where you are, and that includes having weaknesses. You have a set of strengths that are exactly what you need to do well. So the weaknesses you have are not going to prevent you from reaching your goals. Now, this first premise is extremely important for successfully mental programming. So repeat it after me. Please, please, please. I have everything I need to succeed. All I need are my strengths, and my weaknesses are not an impediment to achieve my goals. That's it. You have it. So if you understand this, you already have done a big step. Now, second is super important. According to Daniel Hoffman, a Dutch consultant specialized in organizational functioning, every weakness we have is nothing more than a consequence of a strong quality we have. Now, Hoffman developed an actual model that is called the Quality Quadrant, in which he explains that when you have a quality and you stretch that quality so far and you exaggerate it too much, you will take it to an extreme where it stops being positive and it becomes a nuisance. He called this a pitfall, and it's exactly what happens most of the time. We have weaknesses, yes, but it's simply impossible not to have them. Human beings, we have polarities. It is impossible for us to always be operating in the same way. And it's in those change of polarities that we can find the weaknesses, and especially to understand that they are a natural part of us. And then again, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Now, I'll give you a specific example. I have a client who is highly organized and planned. He does everything with a measurable framework. For example, he has an Excel sheet with weightings and measurements for each element that he analyzes in a situation. Now, organization and planning are a virtue and certainly are a strength. Plus, my client happens to have a managerial position. He makes decisions, he leads the department, and he likes his opinion not only to be taken into account, but also to be participant in the evolution of that company. But what happens to my client sometimes? That sometimes when things don't go as planned, he panics, he blocks, and he doesn't see the exit so quickly. And that happens because he had spent so much time analyzing, anticipating, making the corresponding and perfect action plan that he can get out of these options very quickly. So that makes him a little or very rigid. Does that mean that my client is always a rigid person? No, because it's not the case. But he does have moments of rigidity that come necessarily and naturally with that virtue that is organization and planning. This is what I like to call operating in the light or operating in the shadow. Each trait of our personality, absolutely each one of them, can become a great virtue or an obstacle depending on the side on which we operate. If we stay in the light, our personality traits will be positive, and constructive, but if we go into the shadow, they will become something that does not let us move forward. So let's take another example. Flexibility. Now, flexibility is a virtue when it helps us to adapt, to listen to solutions, to change our mind for something better. And as long as we operate in the light, flexibility can be very useful for any career change, professional evolution, or to be honest, to simply carry out every single day in an economy that changes so much like the one we're living in. Now, if we operate in the shadow, the excess of flexibility can turn into dispersion, lack of decision, and it can actually make us become a very manipulable target, which blocks our own personal and professional evolution. So what do we do with these weaknesses then? Well, first of all, we are going to identify them. So start by analyzing your strengths and exaggerate them. What happens when there is too much of that good thing that you have? What happens when you operate in the shadow of your personality traits? That's your weakness. Second, and I advise you to look for a personal example here. And I would like you to see what happens when you are in that moment of chaos. So you stretch, you block, you're in that chaos. And that is the moment where the weakness emerges. When we are operating in the shadow, I can assure you that there is always another trait of your personality that comes to the rescue, that comes to help you find balance. Now observe carefully and you will realize that you do not stay blocked all the time for life. Because human beings, we are not designed to destroy ourselves, we're designed to survive and advance. So observe yourself and identify what is that strength that saves you from your weakness, so that you can consciously activate it the next time that you feel dominated by your weakness. So there you have it. Weaknesses are a consequence of a strength you have, or the result of operating in the shadow of your traits. That's it. They are something natural and they are part of you, and you cannot have a strength without weakness. And now you know, identify also the strength that helps you find the balance, that if you are in a constant search for improvement and evolution, so the best thing that you can do is to realize that you already have within yourself all the tools that you need. So see you in another episode for more on Mind Programming for Success. Big kiss and see you then. Okay, let's talk here between you and me. You're not perfect, and that's absolutely fine. We live in a society where we are sold too many products